Today we're going to talk about the different operations for fractions. You should have a foldable that looks like this. It's taped into your journal. On the 4 different tabs, okay, the top 2 tabs, we're going to write add and subtract. The bottom 2 tabs, multiply and divide. Okay, so the first operation we're going to talk about is adding fractions. Okay, to add fractions, you're going to write the steps on the inside under the Add tab. You write the fractions vertically, find common denominators, add the numerators, keep the denominator. If there's any whole numbers, you want to add the whole numbers and then simplify. Okay, so for our example, we have 3 4/5 plus 2 2/3. So I've written those vertically. Now I need to make my common denominators. I can multiply 5 times 3 and get 15, so I can use 15 for my common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite this, keeping my whole number 3, changing this to 15, keeping my whole number 2, and changing this denominator to 15. To get from 5 to 15, I multiplied by 3, so I multiply the 4 by 3 and get 12. To get from 3 to 15, I multiply by 5, so I'm going to multiply the 2 times 5 and get 10. Okay, now I have my fractions written with common denominators, and I can just add. I'm going to add the numerators. 12 plus 10 gives me 22. Keep my denominator of 15. Add my whole numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, now my answer has 22/15, which is an improper fraction, so I'm going to need to change that. Remember, to change a number from an improper fraction to a mixed number, we just divide. Fraction bar means to divide. So if we take this 22 and we divide it by 15, 15 goes in there one time. And when you subtract, you get a remainder of 7. To make this a fraction, the remainder is our numerator and our divisor is our denominator. So we have 1 7/15. That's what this 22/15 changed into. But remember, we still have this whole number 5. So when I take this whole number 5 and I add the 1 7/15, then my answer is going to be 6 7/15. Okay, so what I did was I simplified by taking the 5 22/15 and changed that into 6 7/15, which is my final answer. Okay, next we're going to subtract fractions. So under your subtraction tab, we're going to write the steps to subtracting fractions. The first thing I want to do is write the fractions vertically, find common denominators. We're going to borrow if needed. Subtract the numerators, keep the denominator. If we have whole numbers, we want to subtract the whole numbers, and then finally simplify. Okay, so our first example is going to be 5 1/4. Subtract 4 1/5. Okay, so to make common denominators, I can multiply 4 times 5 and get 20. So I'm going to rewrite this, keep my whole numbers, changing my denominators. To get from 4 to 20, I multiplied by 5, so I multiply 1 times 5 gives me 5. To get from 5 to 20, I multiplied by 4. 1 times 4 gives me 4. Now I'm going to subtract. 4 from 5 is 1. Keep my denominator of 20. Subtract my whole numbers. 4 from 5 is 1. So I get an answer of 1 1/20. Okay, but we're going to work another example where we have to borrow. Okay, so for our second example, we're going to have 4 1/3 minus 2 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to make common denominators. I leave my whole number 4. 3 and 4, I can use the common denominator of 12. To get from 3 to 12, I multiply by 4, so I'm going to multiply the 1 times 4, which is 4. To get from 4 to 12, I multiply by 3, so I'm going to multiply the 3 by 3 and get 9. Now when I go to subtract, I can't take this 9 from this 4, so I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to borrow from this 4 and change it into a 3. Well, what I'm borrowing the 3 as is a fraction that I can use, which is going to be 12. So a whole 1 is 12 over 12. So I'm borrowing the fraction 12 over 12. Okay, to add to this 4/12. Well, a trick for this, okay, is to keep the denominator the same, add the denominator and the numerator, which is 16. And you can see that's what we're doing over here. We're really borrowing 12/12. 12 plus 4 is 16. And to sort of skip this step and do it in your head, keep the denominator, add the numerator and the denominator, and it gives you 16/12. And that's an easy way to borrow. Then we're going to subtract our 2 and 9/12. Okay, so when I subtract, now I can subtract 9 from 16, which is 7. Keep my denominator of 12. And 2 from 3 is 1. Okay, so when we have to borrow, it makes subtracting with fractions a little bit trickier, but there's your example for that. All right, now we're going to look at multiplying fractions. So under your multiply tab, we're going to list the steps for multiplying fractions. The first thing we want to do when we multiply fractions is turn any mixed numbers into improper fractions. And this time we're going to write the fractions horizontally. We're going to cross simplify if we can. That's going to make it easier for us in the end. Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and then simplify if we need to. So our first example is 3/4 times 5/6. Okay, so what I want to do is just multiply the tops. 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 6 is 24. And then I would need to simplify, so I'm going to divide by 3. Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. But I want to show you an easier way to do this with this cross simplification. So if I take the same fractions, 3/4 times 5/6, any top number and any bottom number that can simplify, I can do that. So the 3 and the 6 are both divisible by 3. So if I divide 3 by 3, I get 1. If I divide 6 by 3, I get 2. So now what I'm going to do is multiply 1 times 5, which is 5, and 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, you can see that either way you're going to get the 5/8, but this is a little bit easier for you when you cross simplify. All right, now we're going to work an example that has mixed numbers. So we're going to multiply 3 and 7/9 times 2 and 1/4. All right, remember to make this an improper fraction. We multiply the 3 times the 9 and add the 7. So our denominator is denominator is 9. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 7 is 34, times our denominator is 4. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. All right, now you can see here the cross simplification is going to make this easier for me. I can multiply 34 times 9, but that's going to be sort of a big number. Or I can go ahead and simplify. 9 divided by 9 is 1, and 9 divided by 9 is 1. And I can even cross simplify the 34 and the 4. Those are both even numbers, so I know they can both divide by 2. 34 divided by 2 is 17, and 4 divided by 2 is 4. So then instead of multiplying 34 times 9, all I have to do now is multiply 17 times 1. 17 times 1 is 17, and 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, and then this will simplify into 8.5. All right, if I didn't cross simplify, then I'm going to wind up with 34 times 9, 306, divided by 9 times 4, which is 36. And then I'm going to have to simplify. I'm still going to wind up getting the 8.5, but you can see I'm working with much bigger numbers. So it's easier to simplify as I'm multiplying. All right, then to divide, we're going to look at the division tab. To divide with fractions, these are our steps. Very similar to the multiplying. We're going to turn the mixed numbers into improper fractions, write horizontally, but then we're going to keep it, change it, flip it. Keep it means the first fraction stays the same. Change it, we're going to change it from a division problem into a multiplication problem. Flip it, we're going to flip over the second fraction to its reciprocal or its multiplicative inverse. Okay, then we just follow the multiplication rules. Cross simplify, multiply numerators, multiply denominators, and then simplify. Okay, so our example for this, we're going to have 3/4 divided by 1/2. Okay, so there's no mixed numbers here, so we're just going to keep it, keep the 3/4, change it, change the division to multiplication, and flip it. We're just going to flip this 1/2 over, and it's going to turn into 2/1. All right, then we just work a multiplication problem. All right, this will simplify. The 2 and the 4 both divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then I just get to multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. And 2 times 1 is 2. Then I need to simplify because this is an improper fraction. 2 goes into 3 one time with 1/2 left over. So 3/4 divided by 1/2 is 1 1/2. Okay, we're going to work an example with a mixed number now. We're going to divide 4 3/4 divided by 1 1/8. Okay, so we've written them horizontally. We want to change our mixed numbers into improper fractions. So to do that, I multiply 4 times 4 and then add 3. My denominator is 4. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 3 is 19. I'm leaving it as division right now. We don't want to do too many steps at once. So right now we're just changing them to improper fractions. My denominator is 8. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So now that I have them as improper fractions, then I want to keep the first fraction, 19/4, change from division to multiplication, and then flip it. Flip the second fraction over to its reciprocal of 8/9. Okay, now it's just a multiplication problem. I follow the multiplication rules. I can simplify the 4 and the 8. They're both divisible by 4. 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 8 2 times. Now I don't have to multiply with quite so big of numbers. I'm going to multiply 9 times 2 now. 19 times 2, which is 38. And 1 times 9, which is 9. And then I want to change this into a mixed number. 9 goes into 38 4 times with 2 left over, and that goes over our denominator. So 4 3/4 divided by 1 1/8 is 4 2/9.